Welcome in to a Thursday edition, week 4 of your Wildest Fantasy Football Show. First things first. Cody, are you stealing my outfit?
I am. You're just such a fashionista that I had to steal it.
I mean, thank you, first and foremost.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it if you wouldn't do that again. I just think I don't like to say that you're cramping my style, but sometimes I think that only one of us can pull these things off. Maybe if we're not doing it at the same time,
Correct.
Schedule it out.
Yeah.
But I think we both agree this is certainly more my style than anything.
Right. That's my bad. I'll do better next time.
Okay. Well, thank you. Second off, we have to talk fantasy. We have a game tonight, and though it is not much of a game, or a game that many people are excited for outside of the Cincinnati and Jacksonville area, it is a game nonetheless. And that's exciting for us. There actually are some fantasy relevant players playing tonight. So we have a lot to talk about there. We have injury updates. We are going to get a head start on the Sunday slate. And we also have a bit called Explain Your Trade. Since me and Cody made trades recently, and we're going to have to explain it to you. And if it's not a good explanation, I think there are consequences. What they are, maybe you decide. Who knows?
I like that.
First things first, let's get into the injury updates. There is a ton. Whether they are relevant or not is a different story. And I guess I'll run through and you tell me how relevant it is and what your thoughts are.
Right.
Dalvin was limited Wednesday.
I mean, I think he's going to play. I thought that last week, but I definitely see it this week since he practiced this week.
I did not think he was going to play last week.
True.
I do think he's going to play this week. Limited on Wednesday is a very good sign towards that. Hopkins did not participate due to a rib injury, DeAndre Hopkins. This happened last week too. It's weird. DeAndre Hopkins kind of had a weird year. He's been pretty touchdown dependent so far. Are you worried about him at all? Because it seems like he's playing with this injury or with something that's maybe hindering him a bit, unless it's just having so many receivers. That's the issue.
I don't think it's anything to do with the injury. I think he'll be okay. I just think it's new for him to have, someone like a Kirk, a Moore, even a little bit of AJ Green, as we saw last week. I just think it's different for him to have viable wide receivers on his team. I think that's all it is. I'm not worried about Nuke.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to straighten things out. I'm not sure. Do you think he's still the wide receiver 4 that he was going as, like wide receiver 4 overall?
No, not the way like Cooper Kupp's been playing. He's going to be a wide receiver 1 by the end of the year, but I'm not worried about it. He might not hit that number 4 mark unless he really starts stepping it up.
Yeah, it's odd. Like I said, the touchdowns, put up 23 points in week 1, had 2 touchdowns. So, as you know, we like to subtract the touchdowns here to see some of the sustainability of these numbers. That would put him around 11 points. Week 2, he had a touchdown and only 13 points. And week 3, he had no touchdown and 3.6. I'm not saying that Hop is going to max out at like 11 points, but I think there's some worry there with the lack of target volume, and I think this rib injury could be playing into it a bit. You're still happy to have DeAndre Hopkins, but maybe not as happy as when you drafted him. Right. Kittle did not participate with a calf strain. I think that is just resting him. I haven't heard anything big enough to have it scare me yet. I imagine you are in the same boat.
Right. I think George Kittle's going to be fine.
Yeah.
It's a longer season this year than normal. One more game. So I just think teams are going to be a little extra precautious and resting their number one guy.
Agreed. This one, A.J. Brown and Julio missed practice. A.J. Brown, hamstring injury. He is considered week to week. Julio is kind of up in the air for this week. They don't really know. Not much has come out about it. Cody, you just traded for Julio in our league.
I did just trade for Julio.
What is your thought? More so on Julio, because I think it's pretty like well known, and the expectation is for AJ Brown not to play this week.
Right. If Julio doesn't play this week, I wouldn't be surprised. He might miss this week. But I'd rather have Julio and AJ. If I'm the Tennessee Titans, I'd rather have them rest up early on in the season. That way I can have them later on in the down the stretch. As far as my fantasy week is concerned, a little sad Julio will probably end up missing this week, but I'm happy that he will miss it and then come back healthier than if he played, did terrible, and was just aggravating himself for no reason.
Fair, yeah. I think that this could be a tough week for the Titans, and we'll talk about the Titans later.
You still have Derrick Henry.
Depending on how this works out.
You still have Derrick Henry. I mean, the dude can run for like 250 yards on any team.
And you play the Jets, who could allow 250 yards quite easily to Derrick Henry.
Right. I'm not worried that the Titans are going to lose this game. I think this would be a good week for them to rest Julio. Just give him that extra week off. Let Derrick Henry just show everyone again that he is a man among boys.
He's a monster among men.
That is also true.
He's a scarier monster among monsters. Whatever category you put him in, he leaps above.
Right.
Gronk did not participate with his rib injury. We saw that. He kind of got smoked on Sunday.
Right.
They said he's highly likely to play this weekend. Deontay Johnson was a limited participant. I think anybody who's limited on a Wednesday, you have to be optimistic that they're on track to play by the weekend. Same goes for Darrell Henderson, who was a limited participant. Juju did not participate with a rib injury. If he was not to play this weekend, which I think remains a solid possibility, what do you think about these other two guys? I think it favors Deontay a lot more than it favors Claypool, just because of the role that Juju plays.
Yeah, I mean, Deontay Johnson's coming back from an injury. He got banged up unnecessarily. I think this benefits Claypool more because he is the healthiest out of everyone. He will be the one who, in my mind, would be on having like the least restrictions, probably just play most of, if not the entire game. I think Johnson, even if he is good to go, he still will have that soreness probably in my mind. So he won't be at 100%, especially since it's a knee injury. You have to kind of use your knees to run. It's a little known fact. So he might be a little bit slower and a little bit just less explosive than we're hoping for. So I'm going to be higher on Claypool this week just because of that. If Juju doesn't play.
Yeah. And maybe the guy that it impacts the most, as it did last week, is Najee Harris, who caught a bunch of balls underneath. I mean, he had 14 catches last week. So upgrade for him, definitely, if Juju does not play. Shepard and Slayton did not participate yesterday. They were out there today. We don't know. They were mostly with the trainers today. We don't know if they will be practicing today. but it seems like they will not be from this report. There's a lot of interpretation here. And I'll tell you what, I don't want to feed anybody wrong information, but I'm really searching through the weeds. A lot of weeds. Don't smoke the weeds. Anyway, unless you want to.
Your choice.
It seems like the implication from this report from Zach Rosenblatt says they would seem unlikely to play this Sunday.
Right.
Galladay has also been limited with a hip and toe injury. Are you
Right.
trusting any of these Giants wide receivers or any Giants wide receivers this week, regardless of the injuries?
Not really. I have shares of Sterling Shepard on my team. No, I'm not super confident in any of them. Looking at the Giants injuries, they're missing a guard. They're gonna miss a guard. They got 2 banged up running backs, 3 banged up wide receivers, a banged up tight end, and a tight end who just got back from an injury. I'm not looking at any of the wide receivers really hoping that they're going to play and to perform well. I am high on Evan Ingram, though, this week, since looking at this, half of, if not 90% of the pass catchers in the Giants organization are bruised and banged up. I think Evan Ingram, who saw 6 targets last week, could probably see close to 10 to 12 this week.
Yeah, we'll talk more about these guys later in the show as well.
Right.
But I think Ingram is the guy that you play this week. If you play anybody, it is the Saints that they face off against this week, so going to be a tough matchup. Eli Mitchell was a limited participant in what will be an interesting San Francisco backfield discussion that we will have, I believe, tomorrow. Curtis Samuel was back. He practiced and is designated to return from IR. Is there any interest in Samuel? Especially, I know some people probably have him on IR.
Right.
If he is out there, if you don't have an IR spot, he was probably dropped. Is there any interest in picking him up and seeing what he can give you?
If I have an open bench spot, maybe, but I'm not dropping a handcuff or someone like that for Samuel yet.
So I want to play like a little name game. He's rostered in 56.1% of leagues. So I'm thinking like, would you drop a fringe wide receiver, like a Bryan Edwards for him?
I'd drop Bryan Edwards. I'm not high on Bryan Edwards out of the 3 wide receivers in that offense. I like Ruggs. I like Renfro. But I'd probably get rid of him to get Samuel.
Fair enough. Also, last injury we have to talk about, Tyler Conklin did not participate yesterday.
He did not.
With a glute and an elbow. Are you worried about Tyler Conklin's glutes?
No, he has fantastic glutes. I would say above average, honestly, just close to immaculate. When they're that good, they just get banged up every once in a while.
Yeah, sometimes your glutes just get down.
Yeah.
Sometimes they take a beating. You take a tough fall. And they get pounded. Your glutes get pounded, and then you got to figure out just how to deal with it and how to deal with adversity. Sometimes that takes a day off, and then you just get right back out there.
Right.
And those glutes do what those glutes do. And we wish the best for Tyler Conklin. I mean, he's top 10 tight end right now.
Right. He is killing it this year. Number 9 right now.
As you have reminded me time after time, ahead of George Kittle, right?
Well, George Kittle just jumped above of a monster week, but he is above Kyle Pitts, Austin Hooper, Zach Ertz, Goddard, Fant, Higbee. All these wannabe tight ends are below Conklin. I don't know. It's still Wednesday, so maybe the Dean did not participate. It's a little worrisome, but I'll see what happens today. If he doesn't participate today, then
We're rooting for Tyler Conklin and his glutes and his elbow, but mainly his glutes.
yeah.
Okay, so that is our injury report. We will get more updates tomorrow. Let's get into Thursday night football tonight. The Jaguars at Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah.
Cincinnati is favored by 7.5 points, over under of 46. Injury for tonight, T. Higgins is not playing. He was ruled out with a shoulder injury. Does this shoulder injury worry you at all if you are a T. Higgins owner?
If I'm a T. Higgins owner, maybe a little bit. Just because you kind of drafted him a little early.
And it's kept him out of multiple games. Understandable, it's a Thursday night football game, which is a little bit tougher.
I mean, it's a Thursday
recovery
game,
time.
so yeah, it's a kind of quick turnaround. They're also playing the Jags, so not really. They're a borderline college team, so I feel like the Bengals.
They're coached by a college coach. I think you're thinking college scheme.
Right, college scheme and college quarterback. Sorry, just tough.
Trevor Lawrence shots already, man. It's week 4.
Week 4, and he has one more touchdown than that. So
who would you have drafted? Is this like sarcasm, or are you actually a Trevor Lawrence hater?
I'm not a hater. I just think it's too early for him.
Would you have taken him number 1 overall?
I mean, I'm a Gardner Minshew guy, so no. I think that I would have just let Gardner Minshew have the reins for like 5 years, brought up ticket sales a bunch. Just let Gardner Minshew be Gardner Minshew. Still have the same record probably. Maybe have won one more game so far.
But tickets
would have went way up.
Yeah, you're a business guy at the end of the
day. Right. I think it's a bad financial decision. And for Trevor Lawrence, I mean, he's just having a hard welcome to the league. Averaging like 200 yards a game, has 7 interceptions so far, 5 touchdowns. It's tough to start. But no, they're back to T. Higgins. They're playing the Jags, who are 0-3. Just it's a wash of a game, kind of. Like, the Bengals shouldn't be stressing this too much, so I think it's a good opportunity to rest T. Higgins. If he could have possibly have been playing on a Sunday game, I don't know, but I think it's a good week to let him rest.
That is fair. I think, with a quick recovery time, just kind of had to happen. I didn't think that he was going to be able to play this week. I think if he misses next week, I start to get very concerned.
Right.
But I do not expect that to happen.
They didn't put him on the IR, though.
No.
They just have him listed as out. So I think it could just be like, I don't know what happened or like the whole circumstances with his shoulder injury. Maybe it could just be soreness. Maybe I don't know.
No, I think he'll be fine after this week is my expectation.
Does Tyler Boyd's stock go up this week?
That is a question that I had as well.
Oh, nice.
It's a weird Tyler Boyd's in a weird category. It should, right? The Bengals are known for their passing game and all the weapons that they have, and now they're losing one of those top weapons, so that should open things up for Tyler Boyd.
Right.
But he had 10 points. He's had 10 points in the last 2 weeks. He needed a touchdown last week to get there. He only went 4 for 36 and 1 without Higgins. Right. So I'm kind of worried about Tyler Boyd to the point where I wouldn't put him in my lineup if I had a decent other option. I think in most cases, people would have a better option than Tyler Boyd. Do you trust him at all?
I think this week with a banged up or with T. Higgins out, I do kind of trust him. I mean, he did need that touchdown last week, but the week before he didn't have a touchdown. Still got 9 targets. Oh, he's gone. He's back. I mean, he leads the team in targets. I mean, T. Higgins was out last week, so numbers are a little skewed, but he has more targets than Chase. So I just kind of, but he's more like the short guy. So if you're in full point PPR, I like him more. Half point, it's a little bit difficult, but if you need him as like a flex or a bye week fill in, I like him.
Well, first off, I want to say, I mean, he is the short area of the field guy. He is the short guy per se, but we don't discriminate against short guys. I think plenty of people may deal with height issues that are not within their control, and we accept you in your journey of that. We accept people of all shortness is or tallness is.
Right.
So that no discrimination here. Second off, I'm worried a little bit about his upside because although we don't discriminate, I don't want to discriminate against shortness, but it is a factor. It is a thing that we look at and we're like, oh, not gonna overstate that, but it is a thing to observe. Like Jamar Chase may not be getting as many targets, but he's performing a heck of a lot better than Boyd is to this point. So I think just that limited upside of Boyd, it seems like if he gets 5 catches and delivers you a solid floor, I think that's kind of what you're hoping for.
Right.
But it's going to be like 5 and 50, or it's going to be hoping for like a 7 and 73 like he had the week before.
Right.
I think he's just going to have a big target volume to deliver you a solid week.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if he gets that in a game where they're going to be leading for the majority of the game. The Jacksonville obviously has not been a great team, as we talked about, 0-3. They are also 31st in opposing time of possession with the 6th most fantasy points allowed to running backs. So Tennessee's going to or Cincinnati, don't know where Tennessee came in. Cincinnati's going to have the ball a lot, or they're going to have the ball a lot, and they're going to be able to control this game. We expect them to be playing with the lead, and I don't see a ton of throwing that they're going to have to do, especially just as they get into this game, like as they get more into it after the first quarter and are up 10-0, up 14-0.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it could be a good game for Joe Mixon. He's someone who, if you have him, you're very happy this week. They're just gonna have to run. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is probably gonna throw your team the ball like twice, so that's 3 extra carries for Joe Mixon right there. It's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. As we mentioned, tied for 6th most points allowed to running backs in fantasy football. Mixon, also want to say this, in his last game against the Jags, he had 31 touches, 181 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 42 fantasy points.
Nice.
Per Michael Florio on Twitter. I have to put that in there because outside of that, I'm not sure if any of that's true, but as a big Mixon believer, I want to believe that.
Right.
So if that is true, I agree. And I'd like to think that it can happen again. I'm not sure if I'm saying it will, but maybe Michael Florio is.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you said that he is about to double his total fantasy points on the season in this one game, since he has 37.5 so far. You say he's going to get 42 this game. That sounds like a bet you wanted to make, Kondo.
I don't see myself going that far, but I think you got to be a little bit disappointed if it is a disappointing game from Joe Mixon where he puts up 10 points or less. Where's your next move as a Mixon owner?
That's tough. If Joe his attempts have just been going down each week. He had 29 attempts against Minnesota. He had 20 attempts against Chicago. Then he only had 18 against Philly. Granted, Philly does have a pretty good run defense.
They played Philly? Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, sorry, geez, my bad. Pittsburgh. Holy shit, I need to sleep. Rough day, sorry. But no, I mean, I think if
1 o'clock.
yeah, you're telling me. I'm a Joe Mixon believer. I think he's gonna be fine.
It's really the touchdowns that worry me more than anything.
I mean,
and this should be a game where he's able to secure one. So I'm hoping that will happen for Joe Mixon.
right.
And you got to hope that can happen going forward. I mean, the Cincinnati offense isn't as bad as it has been in years past with him. So you got to hope that touchdown regression is coming his way. He also played 2 tough defenses the last 2 weeks where he didn't score one in Chicago and Pittsburgh. So I think that hopefully we don't have to worry about a bad Joe Mixon day, but we'll see tomorrow. As for the Jags, well, first off, you're starting Jamar Chase, obviously, and probably starting the Bengals defense with how we've talked about Trevor Lawrence so far. As for the Jags, the only Jags I trust, and I use trust fairly loosely, are James Robinson and Marvin Jones. I think everyone else is way too touchdown reliant for my liking. Would you take a chance on Chark or Shenault or anyone else that I have no idea exists?
No. I mean, maybe this week it's a Thursday night game. Maybe they perform a little bit better. But you know that they're going to be down almost every single game, if not every game. I mean, Marvin Jones has 28 targets. The next closest person is LaVisca. We have 20. I don't know. Like, I don't really trust LaVisca. I think Marvin Jones is going to be fine. James Robinson will be fine. No, I can't. I don't want Shark and I don't want LaVisca.
I think you want those guys in games where the Jags are going to get blown out. And I think we expect Cincinnati to lead for the majority of this game, but I don't necessarily expect for them to get like routed in this game. I don't expect it to be a like 40-point scoring performance from Cincinnati. Obviously, from the over-under, Vegas doesn't expect that either.
Right.
And they probably know more than I do.
Maybe. They're pretty smart people.
Yeah. Especially when it comes to their money.
Exactly.
And my money. But I really don't want to take a chance on either of these guys until they kind of show a little bit more consistency and a little bit less dependence on getting into the end zone.
Right. I mean, Marvin Jones does have 2 touchdowns this year. Shark has 2 touchdowns. LaVisca does not have a touchdown yet, but he also has 13 receptions for 95 yards, so not super great.
Of course you do. Second take extra.
Love it.
They're awesome. We also have a question before we get to our Sunday slate of games. Who should I start, J-Rob or Javonte Williams? I'm starting J-Rob 10 times out of 10. Javonte also faces a tougher defense as well. They play Baltimore. Baltimore is top 10 against the run this year.
Right. I'm a little bit more hesitant saying J-Rob just because Bengals are probably going to be up in this game more than likely unless something crazy happens. So they're not going to use the run as much. So there's a little bit of hesitations, but if you start J-Rob, I don't think it's going to be a bad decision for you. I hope it's not.
Yeah, I also want to pull up some of his receiving numbers this year. He does have 12 catches on the year as well. So they like to use him in the passing game as well. So I don't think that's going to hurt too much.
But I mean, it's kind of hit or miss though with him for the pass game.
Also, second take extra, if anyone doesn't know, it's been one of our OG fans. Also did a trade in Superflex, got JT and Mac Jones, and gave up Carr and J-Rob. I kind of like that trade. I do like that trade, especially with his quarterbacks now being Mahomes, Herbert, Heineke, and Mac Jones.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what I like to see.
Mahomes and Herbert, or Mahomes and Heineke, to be honest.
You're a big Heineke.
I mean, look at his fantasy numbers. Last week, I thought he played terrible, and he put up 21 fantasy points. It's unreal.
I'm looking. I'm going to go try to find out about these quarterbacks here.
It's kind of crazy.
I mean, Heineke is the 17th ranked quarterback, so yeah, Who might have
also went 5-0 in my leagues last week, so thanks, guys, for the help, plus my friend won.
That's what I like to hear. That makes me happy. That's what we do it.
That's what we do it for, exactly. Couldn't have put it better myself. So let's get into these Sunday games because we've been trying to squeeze them all in on Friday.
It's
just not been working that well. We were like, yeah, I mean, our Friday shows were just 2 hours.
Yeah, and our Thursday shows were like half an hour, and then it was just sit here and like, all right, we talked about everything. I don't know what to do.
Probably better to budget it this way. Right. Talked a little bit about this one earlier. Titans against the Jets. Titans are favored by 7 on the road, over under 44. Pretty low. Probably one of the lower games this week. We kind of talked about the receiver situation, and I had a question that I think is going to be a popular opinion here. If Julio doesn't play,
right,
do you start anyone in this game other than Derrick Henry? Like in the entire game?
Maybe Randy Bullock. Probably Randy. But besides that, no. No, I'm being serious. Like if it's
Titans defense, maybe. But I mean,
maybe their defense, but like probably their kicker and then Derrick Henry. Just like, I mean, if you think about Derrick Henry, if they can stop him around the 30 or 40 because they have no one else to throw to now, then their kicker could get a couple of chip shot field goals in. But if they get in too close, it's probably 4th down. We're going for it. Just give the ball to Henry. So Henry or Bullock, one of those two. But no, that's only if Julio doesn't play. I think AJ is almost a sure thing not to play.
If Julio plays, obviously you're playing him.
Right.
He's going to be one of the only wide receivers out there that we know by name. Could you name another receiver on the Titans? I actually could, but
could I? Is there a guy named Rodgers?
Yes.
Is it?
You got it. I think you got it.
Is it Chad Rodgers?
Well, you were close.
Who is it?
It's Chester Rogers. He used to be a Colt. That's the only reason that I know that name.
Well, I was close.
I like Corey Davis actually a lot this week. I think, and the more I look at it, the more bullish I get in saying, like, not only should you start Corey Davis, but I think you kind of need to. Like, Davis has a 22% target share. Last week, he had 5 catches on 10 targets. Titans are allowing the 3rd most fantasy points per game to wide receivers at like 50 fantasy points a game to wide receivers. So that's got to go somewhere. I don't think they're going to reach 50, but if they reach 40,
Mm-hmm.
It's got to go somewhere. And
Right.
I think the Jets have to score in this, and I don't really know who else is like a big scoring threat
No.
on their team. So I like Corey Davis a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Corey Davis is leading their team in fantasy points this year, above Zach Wilson. So, if you have Zach Wilson, maybe get rid of him.
So that's probably a good
Right.
recommendation.
I mean, Braxton Berries only has one less target, and he has 2 more receptions. So he is more of a ball security type of guy. Maybe Braxton Berries. I don't know. I'm like we said, Jets are going to be down. They're going to have to score. Their 2 running backs they're awful. Michael Carter, Ty Johnson. Don't start those guys. I'd start Corey Davis and Braxton Berries.
I'd start Carter over Berrios.
Yeah, I wouldn't
want to start either, but I would start Carter over Berrios. That's probably a discussion that we don't need to have. We also don't know how Jamison Crowder's looking, and that could eat into Berrios' production as well. So let's check out. I think that's it for this game, really.
Yeah, I have nothing else to really talk about for this one. Titans are going to win. Just take it as that.
Kansas City at Philadelphia. This is one of the biggest over-unders of the week at 54.5. I think it's only second to the Cardinals game. But it's the highest one we're talking about today. Kansas City favored by a touchdown. A lot of stuff going on in this game.
Oh, yeah.
Will Tyreek Hill rebound? He has 8 catches for 70 yards over the last 2 games. And honestly, I expect, even though it didn't work that great, I kind of expect a similar game plan for the Eagles as they had against Dallas, keeping those 2 safeties deep and trying to cover over the top and making sure they don't get beat deep and sacrificing underneath. So I think, obviously you're playing Tyreek Hill if you have him, but I am not expecting like this is the go off game. He could, obviously it's Tyreek Hill, so he could prove me wrong at any turn.
Any point in time.
Yeah, with 1 catch. But you're starting Tyreek Hill if you have him.
Right. It's the Chiefs. You start Patty, you start Travis Kelce, you start Tyreek, and you start CEH, and you start their kicker, Bucker,
So that's my next thing.
Mm-hmm.
Will CEH keep it up? And obviously, with what I said there, as far as how I expect the Eagles to play, I expect him to have a decent game. It's 17 for 100 last week, and then had 2 catches for 9 yards and a touchdown for 15.9 in half PPR. Do you expect him to have another good week? And if he does have another good week, they play Buffalo next week. Buffalo has been pretty notoriously good against running backs this year. Would you look to sell CEH if he has a quality week this week?
Yeah, I think CEH is playing the Eagles. It's going to be a tough week. But if he can pull off like a 15-plus point game against Philly this week, I think that is all the leveraging power you need, especially with injuries happening around the league, backs just not playing. I think you could easily snipe another running back from someone else for CH if he performs well. If not, then you're just going to pray to God that, he doesn't die against Philly's run defense and Buffalo's run defense, and then hope he can live to fight in like week 7.
Yeah. It's a tough situation. It depends what you can get, because I don't know if you're going to be in a situation where I would say you can definitely max out CH's value after this week, especially with the start. I don't think people are going to be all in on him just after these 2 weeks.
but they might if you can find the right team to trade him to. Like look around your league, see someone who's struggling with no backs, and they might be willing to give you a pretty decent wide receiver or tight end for a CEH.
So my question would you trade CEH for? You wouldn't trade CEH for TJ Hawkinson, would you?
If I had CEH,
Correct.
that's
So I
tough.
would not do that.
You wouldn't?
I just think running back is too
Running back is
tough to
super
replace.
scarce, so I don't think I would. But if they threw in like a Henry Ruggs or basically any Raiders wide receiver, then I might. Like if they threw in Renthro and Hawkinson for CEH, I would do that in a heartbeat. Don't like. I feel like you have to. I mean, the running back position super scarce this year, but you could trade one of those guys.
What about Fant and Fant and Renfro? Just on a whim here. I'm just naming random players.
Right. Random people from your team and a random guy from my team.
Oh, I didn't even make that connection, actually. That was
No.
good.
I mean, I wouldn't do it for Fant just because I have two tight ends who are ranked above him so far, and Evan Ingram will.
So after this week, you'll do it.
No, after
Again,
this week,
like
when Evan Ingram performs.
we hope the best for Conklin and his glute, but if you were to miss time,
right,
and no Fant was on the table, you would probably do that. Okay, good to know.
No, because I still have Dallas Goedert and Evan Ingram, so that would be a no-go for me, Joe.
Dallas Goedert. Good transition, Cody.
Thank you.
Speaking of like rebounding, when we talk about Tyreek Hill and basketball, who will rebound for Philly? Dallas Goedert is somebody that is potentially on that list. He got outscored by Zach Ertz last week.
He did.
Doesn't sound like you're that worried about him.
I'm not. Dallas Goedert has the second most yards on their team for a pass catcher. Obviously, Miles Sanders runs it and catches it. So, but as far as like wide receivers and tight ends go, Dallas Goedert is the he seems to be like the bulk guy back there for the tight end position. I mean, Zach Ertz got a lot of love last game. I don't know if that sustains. I think Goddard is just there.
Yeah, I think Goddard, I wrote, he is what he is. I think that's been my opinion all year. He is what he is. He's never going to lose you a week. I don't think he's ever going to win you a week, but he's never going to lose you a week. And he's just like safe. I think.
Yeah, I mean he'll get you. He's averaging 6.4 points a game. Not terrible.
Standard. He's averaging 7.7 and a half.
Oh, sorry, 8 points. Wait, what is it? Averages for him are 9.07 in full. Sorry. So he is doing moderately well.
Yeah. Other guys for the Eagles, talking about Miles Sanders, not concerned. I imagine he will get more than 5 touches in most games. Actually, kind of crazy that he had 7 points on 5 touches against Dallas. Like, that's insane. He had more than a point per touch last week. So if he can keep that up, very, very good potential for Miles Sanders going forward. And then Devontae Smith. Kansas City's 23rd against the pass. I don't know how well they do against the pass. That's more of a mental thing.
Yeah.
11th most fantasy points allowed to wide receivers. What are your... It seems like there's potential here for Devontae Smith, but over the last couple of weeks, it's enough to kind of scare you off. Are you playing Devontae Smith this week or not?
That is a tough one. I would play him hesitantly. Like, I'd take a hard look at my team And like, if he's not one of my top, like if you have two guys above him, I'd seriously consider starting a running back and or even a tight end in your flex position in normal leagues. Um, I'd rather be wrong and have him go off while he's on my bench than be wrong that he and that I had trust in him and have him get me 3 points this week or 2 points or something miserably low like he has so far this year.
Yeah, I think that he's a very risky flex.
Right.
I would prefer not to play him. If you're looking for an upside guy, though, he could be that guy, but he also might be the guy that he's been the last 2 weeks with 2.6 or 4.3 as well.
Right. He's hit or miss.
So far, it's been mostly miss. It's not him. Also, I want to say
no,
it's
but
that Eagles offense.
It's the fact that Jalen Hurts can't seem to throw to his teammates right now.
Well, we don't need to throw Hurts.
Well, who else?
I think that's the thing. I think Kansas City might be 11th against the pass or 23rd against the pass, but I think, Cody, you might be first against the pass. You're just thinking too much about the pass, where Jalen Hurts, he's flushing it right down the toilet. Don't need to worry about it. Jalen Hurts is going to be fine also. Next game is Carolina at Dallas. This one should be a fun one, just like to watch in general.
Yeah.
Number 1 rush defense against the number 4 rush offense. Now, I'm going to ask Cody hesitantly, what are your expectations for this running game? And maybe more broadly, this Cowboys offense in general. But I'm scared to ask, but I will.
All right. Well, since you asked, Tony Pollard is questionable so far this week. He is not. I'm not sure why he's out. No, I don't think they disclosed that yet about why he has been out. But Zeke is in for a good week, I think, with Pollard out. He gets the workhorse load that he had 2 to 3 years ago. He could have a good week. They're playing Carolina without Christian McCaffrey, and the offense runs through McCaffrey, so, Carolina could struggle. That's my guess this week, that they're going to struggle more than they would. So Zeke could easily get a bunch of those cheap end of game, blowout yards and runs that glory backs get to get. So it could be a good week for him.
I think I believe in this Panthers defense. I believe in this.
They have a good defense, but their offense is just missing their superstar. So it's going to have to be an unreal performance from Sam Darnold with DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and Brandon Zylstra. Can't even say his name.
I'm not worried about Brandon Zylstra. He's not on my radar. I will get to the Panthers in a little bit because I think there's a real opportunity on this Panthers offense to find something. But I do want to talk about this Dallas offense first. Okay. I don't expect monster numbers really from anybody in the backfield because I believe in this Panthers team. I think they are just very good across the board and specifically on defense. They're just so athletic, and I guess it'll be interesting to see how Henderson works into the fold. They just traded for him. And JC Horn just got hurt. So that back end may have some issues just adjusting to that. I could see this being a CeeDee Lamb game if I had to pick anyone. But I don't think the running backs are going to do anything big enough or anything bad enough to really say you're not going to play him. Obviously, you're going to play Zeke. I think Pollard, we don't know what it is. But the expectation is that if he can practice in any capacity on Friday, he will play, and it seems like he's going to play. I think Zeke will get you a solid day. Not a great day, but who knows? I mean, there's a lot of points expected to be scored in this game.
That's true.
And I mean, all it takes is a score to really change a guy's day. As for the Panthers, obviously, first game without Christian McCaffrey, Chuba
Right.
Hubbard in that spot. What do you expect from Chuba in this first game?
I think the Chuba, after having a week to learn the offense, um, like I said last time, I don't think Hubbard expected to play for probably another 3 to 4 years. I think he was just there to collect a paycheck while Christian McCaffrey was out there doing otherworldly magic for them. I think this is a week to prove himself. He did 19 carries, 62 yards, 5 receptions on 8 targets for 31 yards. So almost a 100-yard game last week. I think they're going to be okay. Obviously, they have Sam Darnold, who is a pretty accurate quarterback, I'd like to say. He's not terrible. They got DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson out there. I think that just short completions would also help them. Dallas's defense isn't quite as scary as some other defenses in the league, so I don't think Sam's going to have to really worry too much.
I mean, the Dallas defense has been surprisingly good this year. They've been able to take the ball away a lot, which does help as well, especially for fantasy. I wouldn't want to play the Dallas defense against Carolina, but I don't think it's a terrible play. You could definitely see there being a pick six or something like that. I think there's a lot.
So many interceptions though so far that I just they're literally averaging 2 a game.
You think that's going to regress? Obviously,
I don't think that puts them on pace to get 34 interceptions this year as a defense. I think the most that was last year. I think there was 20 was the most. Maybe it was 18 from last year. I just don't see them almost doubling last year's numbers. I don't see it.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they could have one pick six in this game.
They could get a pick six, but
I think they have as decent of a bet as anybody to have, and a pick six.
Sam Darnold,
especially with how their secondary split.
He's not like a. I mean, he's got 3 touchdowns, 1 interception this year on 107 throws. So over 100 throws, and he has 1 interception. I think he's deliberate where he decides to.
Yeah, he's also had Christian McCaffrey as a safety blanket, though. So I'm saying we talked about this is going to be the game where Sam Darnold has to go out there and do it. That's going to put a lot more pressure on him. And I think, especially playing a Dallas offense that we expect to perform, and in a game where they're going to have to keep up offensively, I think that puts a lot more pressure on Darnold than he's been under so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a good game, potentially. Yeah. All depends on how Carolina can bounce back from their major injury.
And there's some opportunity with McCaffrey out. I didn't really talk much about Chuba. I think he'll be fine. Obviously you're starting him and expecting RB2 numbers, and I think that's kind of where he is right now. Is a mid RB2 solid floor guy. I am more interested in these receivers because I think obviously last year we saw Robbie Anderson have a breakout season,
right?
With McCaffrey out. This year, with McCaffrey back, he has struggled mightily. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays in McCaffrey's absence. But Robbie Anderson's also rostered in a bunch of leagues. So if you have Robbie Anderson, I would hold on to him in hopes that he can do something in this absence and take advantage so that he may have some trade value going forward. But I'm more interested in some of these other options that aren't rostered right now as a speculative add to the back of your bench and seeing just what happens in this Christian McCaffrey-less offense. And maybe not in only this Christian McCaffrey-less offense, but in this Dan Arnold-less offense. Now, first off, without McCaffrey, just talking about Robbie Anderson situation purely. Terrace Marshall is rostered in 14.5% of leagues. Terrace Marshall has 10 catches on 14 targets. That is 2 more targets and 4 more catches than Robbie Anderson this year. There's a very good chance that he could be the guy that sees that Robbie Anderson role of last year. I don't think I would bet on it, but he's available in 14.5% of leagues. So you're not investing heavily in Terrace Marshall, potentially having a big role, a wide receiver 2 role in this offense with McCaffrey out and putting that in your lineup for a week or selling high on it for a guy that's just going to have more of a season-long expectation or season-long role. There's also Tommy Tremble. Dan Arnold, who just got traded, had 7 catches on 11 targets. Robbie Anderson has 6 catches on 12 targets. That's insane. That number is even close. Tommy Tremble obviously had a big 30-yard reception last week. He also had that kind of end-around touchdown run. I imagine they saw some things from him, as you could see in that game, some explosiveness, and then some things that made them say, you know what? We can get rid of the Darnold-Arnold connection, which is not an easy thing to get rid of. So Tommy Tremble is rostered in 0.8% of leagues.
Huge.
And he could be a serious, I could definitely see him being a top waiver guy next week. I mean, I think he's a guy, if I was going to take a chance on anybody, that I would maybe just add before the week, see what happens, and you're not really losing anything by adding him.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting ad. I don't know. I have to see it first. I mean, if you have an empty spot, maybe pick him up. If you're weak on tight end, maybe, I don't know. He's got 1 catch for 30 yards. So huge numbers, obviously. Just gigantic target.
Well, he had Dan the Man Arnold to Darnold in front of him. How is he supposed to compete with that? He didn't have that kind of alliteration.
Yeah, but I feel like if they had,
or rhyme power, I suppose.
I feel like if he is as explosive as people are hyping him up to be, that they would have tried to work him into the offense.
They have.
He's got 1 catch, dude.
Yeah, it's week 3. We're through week 3 weeks, and he's a rookie.
That means 0.33 catches a week, not even a whole catch. He's got 1
catch. In week 3, for a rookie who had a guy in front of him that they now traded away, I think that means that he's going to get more opportunity, doesn't it?
Or they're just...
I'm also who are you really dropping? I'll give you an example of who I'm dropping. I'm going to drop Ronald Jones for Tommy Tremble.
Huge mistake.
Tom Brady was the leading rusher for the Bucs last week.
I mean, Jalen Hurts was the lead rusher for Philly last week. I mean, Miles Sanders got 3 carries. What?
Yeah, but are we okay? And so I'm wrong. I will gladly hope that you have Miles Sanders on your team and then trade you Ronald Jones for him.
No, I don't think that. I just
okay. Well, then what example are we talking about here? Do you really see? This is a little bit of a tangent, but do you really see an opportunity for Ronald Jones to any more of an opportunity for Ronald Jones to become a superstar than you see for Tommy Tremble?
No, I would just see if you could get Ronald Jones to get 1 good week, I'd save him and trade him. That's what I would do. I just feel like if Fournette, who has an injury history, gets banged up, or Bernard, who is questionable, gets hurt, I think Ronald Jones is right there. He's gonna be the number one back. I mean, it's what it is.
Number one back in an offense that doesn't run the ball, though. And, like, I just think there's so much opportunity for Tremble this week. And I guess, like, if you are in a league where you're struggling, and it's also pick your priorities here. Like, what are you trying to look for in your, like, for your team? I mean, if you are going to be towards the beginning of waivers next week, if you do it by record, maybe don't have to pick up Tommy Tremble. Maybe you can play it a little bit safer. But if you are expected to be a little bit lower, if you're in a good situation and you want to take a shot on a home run player, then take a chance on a Tommy Tremble. I think that is obviously not a guy that you're like, oh yeah, there's a solid floor there. He's the last guy on your bench. But I think there's a guy with very high potential. I also like Tommy Tremble coming into the league as well. So maybe a little bit of a connection there or a bias there for me. But I think Tremble could be a solid spec ad for this week.
I guess. I don't know. We'll see during the game. We'll see if he's targeted or if he's even looked at, or hey, I hope you're right.
I hope I am too.
I hope Tremble the best. All about that.
We also do our bold predictions on Friday. Will mine involve Tommy Tremble? At this point, I'm thinking maybe.
I mean, I feel like you have to, since you just said you're all in on him.
All in with my last bench spot. Giants at Saints. Saints are favored by a touchdown here. Over under at 42. That also has to be one of the lower ones. Not a very fantasy heavy game. Wrote down the only Giant I'm starting is Saquon, and only Saint I'm starting is the defense, obviously outside of Kamara.
Oh, that is harsh. I don't know.
Any disagreements?
I would start Evan Ingram. I don't know about I'm looking at the Giants right now. I might even start their kicker, considering their kicker is their second leading scorer on the team right now. So maybe their kicker, especially with Sterling Shepard, questionable. Saquon Barkley, questionable. Darius Slayton, questionable. Kenny Galladay, questionable. Evan Ingram coming back from an injury. Yeah, Saquon, probably starting him just based off where I drafted him. Probably their kicker, just because he's going to get ample amount of opportunities, in my opinion, to kick some field goals.
I don't know if they get down the field like in a position to score.
I do. I just feel like all it takes is like what, 2 or 3 first downs. That's not too hard to do.
It's more than that. 2 or 3 first downs, you're on your side of the field still. You start at the 20.
I mean, start at 25, don't you?
You have a touchback, and then you go to the 45. That's 10 yards per. That's
okay. That's if you get the first down.
63-yard field goal.
You're doing this so literally. If you're literally just getting to the line, obviously, yes. But
I don't expect the Giants to get much more.
I mean, hey, if you want to say the Giants get 2 first downs all game, I guess, then hey, that's your prerogative. Go for it.
I just don't see the Giants scoring more than. I
don't see them scoring.
I think this is going to be a super low scoring game.
I don't see them scoring much, no, but I see them getting down the field, and I see them getting into field goal range. 40, 50 yarders are probably going to be the bread and butter of this game. If Gano can kick them, then he makes you some points. If he can't kick them, he will obviously be wrong.
Is that going to be a bet? Graham Gano, I would say Graham Gano does not have a double-digit week.
I don't assume he will, considering he averages 9 points a game. No, and that's with healthy people. He will not have.
Okay, so that's
He
not
won't
going to
have.
be a bet.
He won't have 10 points. But I mean, look at all the other kickers out here. I mean, come on.
Or are
If
you taking a guy that you don't think will have 10 points as your kicker?
I mean, considering the fact that there's only 6 kickers to average over 10 points so far, and Gano is the 7th guy.
Well, you're
Yeah,
not looking at guys who average it. You're looking at guys who have a potential to do it this week.
right. I think Gano will get down the field. Like, I don't know.
I
Like,
would rather have, obviously, I've talked about, I would rather have Rodrigo. There's a few guys out there that I think I would rather have in just higher scoring games.
I just feel
But
like I feel like you want a kicker who will get more opportunities to kick field goals, especially 50-yarders, which will give you quite a few more points. And Gano can't kick them, so that's why I said him. I don't know. They're just so banged up on their team. I don't like it this week.
I can't even have a rebuttal because I think we've just spent too much time talking about kickers.
We have to.
But
The only time we ever talk about him is when I bring him up.
but Evan Ingram, I think, is a risky play, but I think like if you did put him in your lineup, I'd say it's like bold, and like especially if it's like a 12, maybe like a 12-team league, but like I wouldn't say crazy if you are streaming tight ends. We have and we'll get into the second take. Well, we have one game left. So let's cover that.
J-Kin 40. That's a nice question.
We'll get into the questions after.
Love it.
Cleveland at Minnesota.
Oh my
is
god,
our last game.
this game is causing conflict in my household already. It's tough.
Do you want to talk about that at all? This is considered an open, safe space.
It's considered a safe space, but then you're here, so then it's like not a safe space, so it's like kind of tough.
So the problem isn't this not being a safe space, but the problem is where you're recording. Sorry for knocking the mic. Is not a safe space.
Right. So the beautiful woman that I live with is a diehard Cleveland fan, and I love my Minnesota Vikings. So this week, if you can't see, that blue board behind me has Cleveland on one side, Vikings on the other, and we go through every single game that we play. Just a little fun thing for the household. Do it in your own. Do it with your mom, your dad, brother, sister, cat, dog. Do it with everyone. It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Cody says do it with everyone, regardless of relation or species. Moving on to the game. Minnesota is, I wrote that wrong. Cleveland is favored by 2 points.
Cleveland is favored to win this game.
So that is on me. I'll gladly take the fall for that. I got to be better.
As you should.
The over-under is at 51.5.
Correct.
So a lot of points expected to be scored. Will Cook play? The signs say yes. We talked about that earlier. He was a limited participant yesterday. We haven't gotten any news about him today, but I expect that to either be the same or to build up to more work. I'm interested in your expectations for these wide receivers, not only this week, but going forward. Thielen, I believe, is the wide receiver 4 in fantasy right now, which is pretty crazy. And Justin Jefferson is the wide receiver 10. Do you expect these guys to both be wide receiver 1s this week? And then I will ask my next question after.
This week, it's so tough because the Browns just have a good, pass rush. They, as we saw last week, I think the Bears had 15 yards of offense or something like that. Just a miserable week. They could be. I mean, Thielen's obviously proving it. Justin Jefferson came back to play. But with Dalvin back, potentially, most signs say yes. Jefferson might take a small hit. Thielen has proven this whole year that with Cook, without Cook, he's going to perform. I don't know if they're going to be number 1s this week, but I'd say both inside the top 15 for sure. If you have them, you're playing them.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. If you have him, you're playing him.
So Cleveland, weird, is 5th against the pass just in general, but they're 26th. Oh, never mind. Not weird at all. They have the 26th most fantasy points allowed to opposing wide receivers, so not very much. On the flip side, the Vikings have the 4th most fantasy points allowed to wide receivers.
Right.
How do you feel about Odell Beckham this week? Second week back, he was limited yesterday with a shoulder injury. His shoulder popped out, but it popped right back in, and he was able to play the rest of the game. So doesn't seem like a huge deal.
I mean, I think it's going to be a big Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt game. The Browns run 3 tight ends, like just willy nilly. I mean, they run Hooper, they run Njoku, and they have Brian on the field a lot of the time together. And they don't even line them up at the tight end. They have Hooper slot or out. They have Njoku slot or out. They just move them all over. I just see it more as I don't know if Odell has the week he had last week. I don't see it.
I think it's the opposite. I see this as a game.
You see Odell having 9 targets again this week?
I think Odell actually has, if I had to say, I would say more.
So you're saying he has double-digit?
Yes, I think Odell has double-digit targets in this game. I think Odell has a decent game. I like it. I mean, this Minnesota defense is not, obviously, they're allowing 4th most fantasy points to wide receivers.
Right.
I think he has his feet underneath him now. It's an easier opponent, and it's an opponent that's going to score more points and put up more of a fight than the Bears, who they're pretty much just clobbering the entire game from start to finish. So they're going to need to have more plays through the air. Correct. I see this being a good Odell game. I'm not sure that I'm going to say like he's going to have a 20-point game or something wild, but I see this being a high volume Odell game and a very solid floor Odell game. As I do with the Minnesota wide receivers too. I mean, like you said, you're starting them if you have them. My question as far as the Minnesota wide receivers go, Thielen is the wide receiver 4 this year. And I think we'd agree that he's probably not the wide receiver you want the most in Minnesota. And he also has 4 touchdowns so far. So are you looking to trade Thielen either now before this game or if he's able to keep it up after this game?
That's tough because, like, who would you be getting for Thielen, though? Like,
if you could trade Thielen for, like, Chris Godwin, would you do that? That's a very tough one.
That's tough just because of Tampa Bay has so many wide receivers, and Chris Godwin is not the red zone threat. Like, it's Gronk, or Mike Evans. Those 2 guys trump Chris Godwin before it even gets to him. Whereas for Minnesota,
I think that could be used both ways, though, too. Like, Godwin has 2 touchdowns this year, and he's putting up he's averaging 16.6, and Thielen is averaging 17.5 with 4 touchdowns.
I mean, I'm looking right now. Chris Godwin.
So he doesn't need as much potentially either because of the volume and because of just his explosiveness.
Yeah, Chris Godwin has 26 targets and Adam Thielen has 26. So, I mean, they're literally the exact same as far as targets go, but he has 2 less touchdowns. Like, I just think that Adam Thielen getting the same number of looks and having more touchdowns, I just like him more. Like, I don't like Chris Godwin over Thielen.
Interesting. I would probably take Godwin over Thielen, but I could see like an argument made for both sides. I think that's kind of up to the person. Interestingly enough, though, Chris Godwin does have 6 targets in the red zone, 5 catches, and Thielen only has 4 catches, 4 targets, and he has 3 touchdowns on those. So it's an interesting proposition, to say the least. Are you trading? I think one of the trades I would look for here is maybe like a DJ Moore. If you could get a DJ Moore for Adam Thielen, I would do that for sure.
I would do that for sure. If you had Tyreek, would you trade him for Thielen? You want it?
Not a shot.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that's the reason I didn't bring that one up. I don't think that they would even look at that.
I don't know. I just feel like with the slow start Tyreek's having, I think you might be able to nudge your way into stealing him. If you do it before this week, I think if you do it, I mean, Philly has a tough run defense. They're kind of lucid against the pass, so I think Tyreek is able to have a good week. Are you looking up lucid?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if you do it before this week, you throw in some like interesting bench player, you might be able to steal it. That's who I'd be looking for.
So are you buy, selling, or holding on Thielen? Like, we just brought up people that we would potentially trade for, but would you look to trade him or would you hold on to him?
I mean, all my guys are always like, if it's a great offer, you take it. This is what it is. I don't think I'm actively shopping Thielen unless it's for like someone like if you can grab like a Tyreek and like throw in a bench piece from your side with Thielen, that's what I think I'm doing. But I don't think I'm shopping him. Like I'm not panic selling him for DJ Moore or Jamar Chase or CeeDee Lamb or Goodwin. I don't think I'm shopping him for any of those guys. I'm doing it for someone who will more than likely finish the year better than Thielen, not someone who will finish right around Thielen.
Gotcha. Also, last thing I want to say about this game, Kirk Cousins, Baker Mayfield, they're both solid streaming options, right? If you need a guy, if you maybe drafted Ryan Tannehill or have Ryan Tannehill as your starter, would you pick up a Baker Mayfield or a Kirk Cousins in a spot start here?
I would not spot start Baker. I would not also be streaming Baker. Kirk is someone I talked about early on. 4th ranked quarterback this year. Kirk Cousins. Baker Mayfield, 22. Like he shouldn't be a streaming option for anyone. Kirk should be a streaming option. He's got weapons. He has Dalvin to throw to hand off to. Like, I like Kirk Cousins a lot. He'd be my streaming guy. I wouldn't stream Baker though. Like Baker has a lot of weapons to throw to. Jarvis, Hunt,
He doesn't have Jarvis this week.
Doesn't have, but he had Jarvis though, and he has Odell, and he has Kareem Hunt, and he has Nick.
Yeah, I agree.
He has David Njoku.
Just clearing it up for the people.
Right. He has Higgins, who's a nice young guy. Donovan People-Jones. Like, he has good wide receivers to throw to, and yet he is underperforming wicked. He has 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions on the year, 780 yards.
I mean, he's not. I don't want to say he's underperforming. He just hasn't had to do anything crazy.
Well, if you had those weapons on your team, I feel like you'd be expecting a few more yards. Like,
I think we have a difference in opinion in using the word weapons and Rashard Higgins and Donovan Peoples-Jones in the same sentence. But I think I'd agree with you that Baker is not probably the first guy I look at as a streaming option. If he's going to do it any week, I would hope it would be against a team like Minnesota. Sorry, I don't mean that personally, but just a team that hasn't been great defensively this year. But yeah, we haven't seen it yet. We haven't seen him throw more than one touchdown in a game yet. So I think when they get to that goal line and when they get to those scoring opportunities, they like to use those backs, and I can kind of see that trend continuing. Kirk Cousins, on the other hand, I see him, like you said, as very much a top end streaming option this week.
So I'm looking at Baker's the three teams the Browns have played: Kansas City, Houston, the Bears. If you're telling me that these three teams are more explosive, Kansas City's more explosive than Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
That's a game that Baker had to go out there. He had everyone healthy except for Odell. That's a game he was supposed to go out there, show out for.
I mean, put up 321 yards.
Yeah, how many touchdowns? I mean, me and
well, that's what I'm saying. That's literally what I just said.
Right. And he had an interception. Like, he threw an interception. He had threw no touchdowns. Like, this is not.
You're arguing what I just said.
Right. But I don't know why you mentioned him as
against me.
I don't know. Don't get it. I don't get it. Can't get it.
Neither. I don't know what's happening.
Rough.
Okay, we're getting into questions before I think either of us lose our marbles.
I already lost them. I'm exhausted.
We have second take extra.
Dolphins
defense or Packers this
week?
Dolphins play the Colts. Packers play
Pittsburgh, so that's tough.
It's a tough choice.
I'd probably go Dolphins. I'd go Dolphins.
I don't know. I don't think there's like a wrong answer there.
Right. I mean,
I would say go with your gut. I think they're about the same. I really don't.
They're literally ranked 20 and 21, so they're right above each other. That's tough. How are Packers against the pass though? Like,
I do not know.
I don't have that statistic.
But I think they're pretty much the same. I think it's just going with your gut on that, as far as it's kind of like trading I don't know, somebody of equal value. Just whoever you like more, personal preference. Westbrook on the Titans or Devontae Smith. That's one of the receivers that we don't know the name of. And he did take over as like the number one target for Tannehill in the absence of the top two targets for Tannehill. But I trust Devontae Smith. He's just a better player. I'm sorry if that's offensive to Westbrook, who I don't remember the rest of his name, but
Westbrook.
I think that's just kind of fair.
Sorry, right there. It's his whole name.
What was it?
Nick Westbrook. Akeem. Sorry.
Akeem.
Yeah.
That was intense. But yeah, it's Devontae Smith. They're playing Kansas City too. I think they're going to throw the ball. That would probably be my choice. You guys think Tim Patrick and J-Rob touchdown are good prop bets?
Maybe Tim.
Also, I don't know, because I don't think J-Rob. I don't know why, but I say, probably J-Rob. Now that I say that he won't, he'll probably do it. Tim Patrick, they play against Baltimore. I don't think they're bad. I think I have to think about them. So, so it's definitely a choice that I wouldn't rule out.
No.
Conklin or Goddard rest of the season. I'll let you take this one, Cody.
That's tough. Seeing as I love both these guys. I'll go. Oh, that's tough because Conklin's injured this week, so it's going to put him a week behind.
Wait, what did you say that Westbrook guy's name was?
Nick Westbrook Akeem, right? Is that the same guy we're talking about?
Akeem.
Ikhine.
Yes. Akeem. Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Back to the question.
I want to go Goddard. just because Conklin's not 100% and Goddard is, so
It's kind of disgraceful that you would just turn your back on your guy when he needs you the most, but
happens to the best of us. So
I guess it says a lot more about you than it says about Conklin, I would say.
Conklin's fine. Conklin will be the number 8 receiver or tight end at the end of the year.
Where will Goddard be?
Obviously, number 7.
Okay. So not much separation between
no real separation.
Last minute news and notes. I want to say Lamar did not practice today. He did not practice yesterday. So a little bit of concern for Lamar Jackson, although Vic Fangio is not concerned. He was asked about it and said, I'm pretty damn sure he'll play. So I am also in the same boat as Vic Fangio there. Not really worried. Antonio Gibson. I don't even know who Tushawn Gibson, safety.
Bless you.
Antonio Gibson has a shin injury and did not participate in practice today. Josh Jacobs was out at practice today. So that happened.
Oh, I lost you there, bud. Oh, I lost you again.
I am losing.
Okay.
Connection. Okay. Am I back at all?
You're back, but you're frozen. No, now you're glitchy. Oh. Move your head. Like, do the mashed potato here. There you go. Now you're back.
Okay.
Sexier than ever.
Josh Jacobs practicing.
Woo!
So that happened. We don't know the capacity in which he is practicing, but he is practicing. Before we go, we had this little fun segment called Explain Your Trade we were going to do since we both made trades, I think yesterday.
I made a trade today.
That we could talk about.
Let's talk about it.
So, do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
I don't even know my trade, so, we can go with...
I'm also going to pull them up so that I
pull them up.
Can talk about them a little bit better.
I don't know who I traded, and I don't know who I got.
It's always a great strategy, especially, again, if you host a fantasy football show. Yep. We can have you go first because you're the first one that comes up.
Oh, yeah.
You traded the Zach brothers, Zach Pascal, Zach Moss.
Oh,
Zach
yeah,
Moss,
for Henry Ruggs.
Top 10 running back right now.
Yes.
For Henry Ruggs.
Yes.
What was your thinking in this move?
My 2 starting wide receivers are Sterling Shepard and Julio Jones, who both might miss this week. So I said, I'll sacrifice the Zach brothers for a guy who will play this week, and Henry Ruggs.
Now, some people, I'm not saying this, but I have to play devil's advocate here. That's the only way that this segment is any fun.
Right.
Some may say Henry Ruggs, high potential, like high boom bust guy.
Correct.
Actually, on ESPN, he's a 12% chance to boom and a 27% chance to bust.
Correct.
You're trading away Zach Moss, who is 22nd ranked running back right now.
Correct.
And in some formats, a top 10 running back. Why would you do such a thing?
I have Dalvin. I have Dalvin's backup. I have CEH. I have Cordell Patterson. And I just feel like those 4 guys will be able to carry me through the rest of the season. Whereas I do not want to lose another week because of my wide receivers. I'm hoping Henry Ruggs, since I grabbed him, I know he'll do good. That's the mindset going into the trade. That's the mindset after the trade. I'll talk to you guys on Tuesday morning, let you know how the trade officially went.
But Cody, Zach Pascal is the 27th ranked wide receiver. averaging 11.6 fantasy points per game.
He could be.
Henry Ruggs is 27th, and he's averaging 12 points per game. Not even a half point per game more.
Right.
Why would you need to trade for Henry Ruggs?
Because Zach Pascal also has 3 touchdowns, and he will not finish the season with 17 touchdowns this year. So those numbers are going to decline. He only has 18 targets this year, whereas Michael Pittman, his counterpart over there, has 28 targets, 10 more. I am still high on Pascal. I think he will be a good football player, but I think that Henry Ruggs is the better option right now, considering he only has 1 touchdown and he will have more to come, I feel, than his counterpart, Zach Pascal.
Yeah.
And he also leads the team in yards for, well, the pass catchers out of Ruggs, Renfro, Edwards, in Vegas.
Interesting. I think that was great. That was a very good defense.
Thank you. I do what I can for the people.
We can move on to mine next.
Let's hear your trade. I want to know what it was.
I traded Cortland Sutton and
Okay.
Latavius Murray.
You traded away Cortland Sutton. Okay. It's a sad day.
For Ronald Jones and Odell Beckham.
Wait, you traded for Rondell Jones?
There's no Rondale mentioned in the trade. I traded for Ronald Jones and Odell Beckham.
Rondell Jones is what I'm hearing. That's tough.
I don't. Be a delay.
You're really high on Odell, so I understand why you did it. I don't know. Oh, I don't know who did this trade, but that's not smart on their part.
Why? Why wasn't it smart?
Because Denver is still missing 2 pass catchers.
Hamler's out for the year.
Like I said, Hamler's out. Jerry Jeudy's still on the IR. They have Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton. Like, that's it.
So, wait, are you arguing that it was a dumb move? I know you're arguing that it's dumb, but I don't know who you're arguing it's dumb for.
I think it's dumb on both sides. I don't know why you want Odell right now, and I don't know why they want Latavius Murray right now. Like, it's dumb to me. I just think it's dumb.
Well, what do you want me to what do you want me to explain? But other than
like, I want to know why you want Ronald Jones when you just said like he's like, oh, I don't.
I mean, that's not Ronald Jones isn't somebody that I'm like I did the trade for. I think Latavius and Ronald Jones are both expendable. Obviously, I think Ronald Jones has more of an upside than Latavius Murray. I think, like you said, if Leonard Fournette, who has an injury history, ever gets hurt, that would make Jones the number 1 running back there. Where if Tyson Williams were to get hurt, I don't think Latavius would be the number 1 running back. I think he may get a bunch of carries, but I don't know if he would be the de facto number 1. I think he would still be splitting with people. But obviously the deal was more for Odell Beckham than
so what you're saying is the deal was a straight up trade from Cortland Sutton to Odell.
For me, yeah.
But that means the other team wanted Latavius Murray if it wasn't a straight up trade for them. Which
I mean, we don't have them here.
I think it's dumb on their part to give up the number 1 wide receiver for the Browns until Jarvis gets back for the number 2 guy.
Okay, wait a second. Wait.
Right.
Number 1 wide receiver until Jarvis gets back.
Right.
I think that's dumb. that's. Okay. Odell is the number 1 wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns.
With or without Jarvis?
Correct.
Okay. So I'll have that noted. That Jarvis now just garbage apparently to come.
He's not the number 1 wide receiver. If you want to have a debate on who scores more fantasy points the rest of the year, Odell or Jarvis, once Jarvis gets back, I will gladly do that.
When the guy's coming back from the IR, right? That is a tough one.
I mean, so was Odell.
He was
We were just complaining about Odell being half hurt. Odell's
Okay.
shoulder was out 3 days ago.
You said it popped right back in. No
It
problem.
did.
Okay.
It's a minor miracle.
Oh my god. I think it's a dumb trade on both of you. Like I don't know why he's giving up Odell right now. I would wait till Jarvis is more like about to be in the picture. I would utilize having Odell right now if I was them. And for you, I'd utilize having Cortland Sutton right now when Jerry Judy's not in there yet. And I would like wait for him to have another good week and then try to get someone who will finish like who has better like a better floor. I just think it's weird. I don't like it.
So, one, if I knew you were going to be so critical, I wouldn't have been so nice about your Henry Ruggs deal. But number two, and that's why we should have went first with mine. But
should have.
But I guess that's my fault. Two,
don't lie to the people, Kondo.
I think another thing to know, important thing to know, and I'm not bragging, I'm just trying to throw out the facts here. I am 3-0 in this league. Cortland Sutton, obviously, we talked about Judy being on IR. He has probably about like 2 to 4 weeks left on IR, which is a good amount of time. But I don't think I was getting anything much more than Odell ever in it. I just think Cortland Sutton's name isn't as big as an Odell. So if Cortland Sutton is to go off, I don't think I would get as much as if Odell was going to go off. So I think Odell has better name value in a trade. If I were to trade Odell in the future, I think Odell's going to get 8+ targets a game when Jarvis comes back. I don't know if I can say the same about Cortland Sutton when Judy comes back. And obviously, I think the Cleveland offense is just a better offense than the Denver offense. So those were kind of my moves and my thought process through making the move. I don't think that it's too big of an upgrade. Obviously, I think it's a pretty fair trade because I like to be fair. I like to be generous with my.
Don't like you're getting rid of Cortland Sutton, who hasn't scored a touchdown yet. Like he's out. He has no touchdowns this year. 20 targets, 15 receptions, 210 yards, 0 touchdowns. I hope that you're happy with this trade. I really hope Cortland Sutton goes off for like 3 touchdowns and 150 yards this week because they're playing an easy team. I hope so.
Baltimore.
Exactly. And, we just talked about how, Lamar is just over the hill. He said he was banged up. Easy team.
Where does Baltimore come in on? Baltimore allows 36 points to opposing fantasy wide receivers. Minnesota allows 47. So
Minnesota is missing half of their defense. I did just look that up.
Minnesota?
We don't have Minnesota here. Vikings injury report.
Deal with the cards you're dealt. That's the
you're right. We're missing.
The old saying goes.
We're missing. Let's see. A safety, corner, safety, linebacker, corner, linebacker.
I mean, I don't know any of the people, but
okay, Chris Boyd,
also
Anthony Barr, Harrison Hand, Eric Kendricks, Xavier Woods, and Harrison Smith was not injury related, but he did not participate in Wednesday's practice.
Okay, so Odell also doesn't have a touchdown yet this year, but
he also played 1 game, so let's act like he was out there the entire time Cortland Sutton was. Who averaged 5.
I don't think that changes the fact that I don't know. I mean, I think the touchdown expectation is not going to be too different. Anyway, we'll agree to disagree.
Right, I'll be right and you be wrong.
So, do you want to make a bet on Sutton versus OBJ the rest of the year?
Rest of the year? What's the bet?
I don't know. Just that I say that Odell is going to be better, and you say that Sutton's going to be better.
Okay, Sutton will finish higher than Odell.
Okay, that is our argument, our bet for the rest of the year. Tomorrow we will be back with the rest of the Sunday games.
Sunday fun day.
We will be back with our bold predictions. We will look at our bold predictions from last week as well. That should be interesting. I forget what I put, but we'll check in and we'll keep score the rest of the season.
Right.
See how we keep up with it. Thank you guys for listening. And yeah, I see one last comment that I will leave on. And thank you, the Second Take Extra. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And we will see you all tomorrow.
See you then.